Try to be helpful.
It's on. It's ready. You really have to speak into this.
Really? Okay. You what?
You still not here? Didn't he come in here?
Well, I guess he went to get his laptop.
We're recording.
That's a risk of sounding bad. I told you.
I know. That's kind of why I told you, so that you can say I told you so. You know how I listen.
I know.
I think it's even a bigger laugh. You ready, buddy?
Yes, I am.
All right. We'll call the commission to order. Do you have any minutes or reports?
Yeah, the 3 you sent me.
I sent you the Jeff City Chamber of Commerce economic update for the first quarter, the second quarter, and also their audit report to be filed pursuant to the agreement we had with the chamber.
Plus, I do have the county clerk's fees filed.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, Announcements, Upcoming Meetings and/or Events. Warren Crutch wanted to know if we could do Thursday of next week instead of Friday of next week. Apparently they have a conflict on the Friday. I cannot be available because I will be in St. Louis that day. Either one of you do Thursday morning at 8:30?
I possibly could.
November 7th,
November 7th, Thursday, November 7th.
8:30.
Yes.
All right, I'll do it.
All
I
right.
haven't done one in a while, and we got the Cook County communities meeting, so no, we don't.
Is that next Thursday? I don't have that on the calendar.
No, there won't be because of prayer
on 'cause,
breakfast.
yeah, prayer breakfast this month, so I don't know. I got to talk to my secretary. She ain't keeping us updated. Ain't very cute either.
Okay. Thank you all for
That's me.
covering that.
By the way.
Let's see, what else do we
8:30?
have going? 8:30.
8:30. There we go. Edit. We're gonna be here all day.
Got a meeting with Amoresco on Monday.
And I have my meeting with the mayor, the monthly meeting with the mayor on Wednesday the 6th, the commission meeting that day.
And Salute to America has a strategic planning meeting next week, Tuesday, 8 to 1. Yay.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the JAG interlocal agreement approval. Debbie?
The sheriff's here to answer any questions about it, if we receive that contract from the city.
What we'll be using it for this year is the purchase of 5 tasers with cameras and the cartridges for it.
So are they the contracting entity?
They're
Greg?
the one who, the city receives it, and it's to be divided between them and us.
Okay.
I've gotten them up from 35% to 40% over the years. Most jurisdictions that I've talked to just split it 50-50. I hope to eventually get them there.
We hope that you get there also. All right. So you recommend approval, Greg?
Yes.
All right. I entertain a motion to approve the interlocal agreement for $7,390.80.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, would you call the roll, please?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes. By roll call vote, the agreement is approved. Next item on the agenda is the 2014 holiday calendar.
Already?
That's come in a court order. It was attached to your agenda. It's basically the same holiday pattern as last year, and it does correspond with the state. on the days that they're observing the holidays.
No, with the feds.
I can't get mine to open either.
Mine opened.
Control click.
Control click.
Hey, there you go. Helps
Control
if you
click.
read the little message that Microsoft gives you.
Damn new computers.
There is still the one holiday, that was the floating, that we give to them at the beginning of the year. I guess this would be the third year of that.
Have we always done the day after Thanksgiving as a set holiday?
Since we started setting these holidays and since we started taking away 3 years ago.
We did start
Yeah,
3 years
about
ago.
3 years ago,
I say I knew that at one point in time we kind of floated along with it, and we decided that was a silly way to go about doing it.
Right.
Just to make it a holiday and be done with it.
Looks fine to me.
I'm good.
I entertain a motion to approve the court order setting the holidays for 2014.
So moved. Or second.
Jeff, motion, Chris seconded. Call the roll, please.
Mark,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Yes.
Roll call vote, that's approved. We do need to sign that, I think, don't we? Because it is a court order.
And everybody wants off the day after Christmas is gonna wanna get their request in now.
yeah.
So when are y'all gonna come and ask for that day off? Do y'all wanna do that now? Be done with it?
That'd be great.
Go ahead and start that
We gotta sign
discussion.
this.
Yeah, we all have to sign
Huh?
it.
I don't observe holidays.
I don't even work, that's for sure.
I think I'm the only one left.
Christmas, I guess.
I sometimes
My kids
I
have.
sometimes celebrate football Saturdays.
Do you?
Although after last Saturday,
Yeah.
the celebration kind of rang hollow.
Yeah, it's kind of been a downer week, huh?
Oh man, it was awful.
Oh, we had to see that coming.
We'll send it out.
Yeah.
They were getting way too hyped.
Well, you got to put a team away when you get up on them, and they did not put a team away when
No,
they
they
got
were
up.
hyping him way too much. He shouldn't have been not ready.
All right, next item on the agenda is treasurer to discuss investments on T-bills. And Eric, where are there? I presume that I have a conflict on this issue.
I assume you do too.
I assume it involves central bank.
You assume correct.
Okay, and I do have a conflict then, and I will step out, and somebody let me know when this discussion's over. I will come back in. Pardon me.
My
Yep.
screen, that's my folder up there.
It's gonna be that bad?
I hope not.
I'd say.
I'm here today to make a recommendation, as I did last year, which you all approved, for the county, to approve $17 million in the purchase of U.S. Treasury bills. We do this really for two reasons. One, our depository, central bank, is managing its balance sheet and wants to come in at the end of this calendar year under $10 billion in assets. And the reason they want to do that, of course, is because Dodd-Frank, the federal banking regulations that passed some time ago, when you go from a $10 billion bank to over under $10 billion to being over $10 billion, there are quite a number of additional regulations, stress tests, higher reserves, and so it really increases the cost of a bank like Central Bank to comply with those new regulations. So, like many other banks in their situation who are butting up against the $10 billion asset threshold, they partner with their customers, including us, to have us move some of our funds out of our checking accounts into U.S. Treasury bills. And so what I have done, like I did in the past, is I talked with the finance officer and with the auditor's office, and we reached an understanding of what amounts, out of which accounts, out of which funds, we could affect a $17 million purchase. You all have that handout in front of you, and we can go through those amounts. And I assume, Debbie, that those amounts still are
Yes.
agreeable to your office. $5.5 million for the general revenue fund, road and bridge is $1 million, sales tax is $5.5 million, law enforcement $3 million, EMS sales tax fund $1.5 million, EMS enterprise fund $0.5 million, we have $27 million in the bank right now, 27.2 million. And we always like to keep 10 million in there because that's what the 2.55%, which is almost unheard of, that we get on our first 10 million. And then the rest, we get what's called the overnight rate, which is a 0.05 or 0.05%. And Central Bank, like last year, sent me over an email. Again, you all have a copy of that. And they outlined what the transaction is. And I believe the second sentence references that they will be giving us for our trouble and for assisting them 10 basis points over the overnight rate for a total of 15 basis points. So that's 0.15%. Obviously, this isn't a big boost in our interest, but it trebles our the 17 million will be getting triple what it normally would get in the overnight rate. So,
And this is just for a 30-day period.
just for a 30-day period, I think the last agreement that the Congress got through was to fund the budget through January the 15th, and I made sure that we mature before the 15th. We don't want to get anywhere near what happened last time with the government was shutting down. We don't want to be part of that. If something happens on the 15th of January or after, we've got our money and we're out of Treasury bills. Not that anything would happen, of course, but it makes me feel comfortable.
So we're just decreasing their assets by 17 million for a 30-day period so that they fall under the 10 billion.
Exactly. Right. And this is standard across the country for financial institutions that are hovering around 10 billion. This is very normal. There's actually a trend right now among banks that size to aggressively merge with other banks to shoot past 10 billion so that they reach 20, 25, 30 billion, and then they have the wherewithal to pay these additional costs, which are quite substantial with Dodd-Frank and the Durbin Amendment. All those are owners. If you're a bank, if you're a county, you're doing just fine. It doesn't affect us at all.
So when do we buy them?
30 days before the January 10th. It may not be precisely December the 10th. We might go a little more than that. As Dave Meyer with Central Bank told me earlier this morning, the purchase will probably actually be for more than 30 days even. But any additional day, of course, is just additional money that we earn, even though it's very, very little. So what I would do if you all approve this now is I would leave here, go to my computer, send a email requesting the transaction. I would copy Debbie's office, I would copy you all, and I would copy the auditor's office and ask for a confirmation immediately from the bank when the transaction is effective, probably within a couple of hours or certainly this afternoon. And then they move the money out of our banking accounts into what's called a bond portfolio, which appears on our website within, and that's how we monitor it until we get our money back 30-some days from December. I keep forgetting this is only October. This isn't December the 9th.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either, so if you don't have any more questions, well, we have to have a motion and to approve it.
Yes.
Alrighty.
I move to approve the 17 million to be invested in U.S. Treasury bills per Eric's recommendation.
I'll second. Do we got to roll call that, or is that just a?
I don't think so.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Come on back, Mark.
Thank you, Eric.
Jeff, I'd like to just point out that I do the same thing with the collector of general fund.
We didn't get to vote on that.
How much
Okay.
I put about 35 million in there, it's in like a $5 million increment.
For 30 days, for 40 days.
And we make more money on it
15 for January.
while they're doing it, so get a little something out of it.
And I don't know if you all heard during the
hear that.
Bids and having the availability to put their money somewhere in December, because it's such a large amount in just such a short period of time.
Yep, I did hear that too.
All right. Anything else on that issue?
Nope. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Penny.
Thanks, Penny.
Thanks, Penny.
All right, discussion of county's process for repairing vehicles.
Okay, well, we just wanted to,
That was kind of me too, I think. So,
I'll just explain in the past, before, if any county vehicle was wrecked, we would actually ask the department to give me 2 bids from whichever vendor they choose to go to. And Jeff, when he had come, he had mentioned that maybe we should let that open to more of the repair guys to do. So then we kind of turned it over to the purchasing agent, Jennifer, to then solicit all the vendors we could through an email to get them to come up and look at our wrecked vehicle and give us a quote to fix it. And then it just kind of, at that point, the other vendors could see the other vendors' bids, we felt, because it was public information at that point. They have since gone to dissecting each other's bids, deciding, it's a kind of an interpretation of whether they believe a part should be repaired, whether it should be replaced, and it's kind of escalated from there. And it's become an issue. The last one we just had done was a deer hit by the ambulance. We had 3 bidders that bid on it. There was question about how high it was going to be. So I turned it over to MoPerm, all 3 of the bids, and let them decide which one they thought was the right bid. They picked the lowest one. We did give that to the lowest one. But now I understand there is one vendor that is a little upset because there was some item on there that should have been maybe replaced and not repaired. So I'm asking you guys.
Get 3 bids. Figure out which one's the lowest and best bid. Talk to the person who's got the vehicle to make sure that it is going to fix the vehicle. I mean, you know, somebody could submit a $100 bid and say they're going to fix the ambulance, knowing that they're going to try to juice it up later. But Mike looks at the bid on an ambulance, or Greg on a sheriff's car, or Larry on a public works vehicle, and then issue it unless it's over $4,500, in which case we have to go through a more formal process.
Just me and Jennifer looking at bids without involving the department?
No, you should involve you should involve the department, because they need to look at it and make sure it's a complete bid. Their role is not to decide who gets the bid.
I'm not worried about, we do share that with the departments. We let them look at that. I'm
Right.
not saying
So what are you worried about?
It's the vendors.
They don't get a say. If they have a problem, they need to come up here. We have open commission meetings. They can always come to a commission meeting. We have never, as long as I've been here, and I'm now the longest running one, since I've been here, we have never refused to talk to anybody who wanted to be on the agenda, ever,
And
regardless of what they wanted to talk about.
And you appreciate our experience in fixing cars is not great. We're not going to dissect their bids.
That's why
to
you.
decide.
That's why you bring. That's why you bring the person whose vehicle who's responsible for the vehicle, into the loop to look at it and say, you know, if they say, look, we got a wrecked sheriff's car, it's going to cost us $2,000, and Greg looks at it and says, well, what about the lights? Well, okay, that's a bid that's not in conformance.
But a lot of times you're not going to know until the vehicle's up on the rack what the true damage is.
They do that stuff all the time. They know how to bid that, and if they say that they don't know it needs to be fixed until they get underneath
Then the
of it,
solution is this: have them put it up on a rack. When we go out to bid,
they know how to bid them.
when we go out to bid, have them put it up on a rack and have them sign it when they submit their bid that this is a full and inclusive cost and the vehicle will be back to its condition prior to their receipt, and that they take the obligation because they put it on a rack. I mean, I haven't had a car accident in a long time. I haven't had a car wreck in a long time, so I have no idea how insurance companies currently work. But generally, I know the one time I had major damage to my car, they took it out and got 3 bids, and the insurance company paid for it. And it wasn't like they came back to me and said, well, you know, we just found something new. I never heard anything of it. I dropped my car off and I came back 3 days later and picked up a fixed car.
It's not that I'm content with what Jennifer and Debbie have done. I'm really happy with them. I think they've done a good job. I think the problem that we've had is we've had some vendors that have a practice of giving a bid and then coming back with and getting it, but then coming back and say, well, now that we found this other stuff. So I agree with you. You just make sure that they know if they want to put it on the rack and it has to be towed, it's on them for the tow.
Oh, it's fine. No
And
problem.
bringing it back.
But I just want them to sign an agreement saying that it's done. I don't want. I hate the change order thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hate the change order thing more than anything. I just want when we go out and get the 3 bids, and I don't know what the process specifically you guys do is, but whatever they submit needs to say this is a full final bid, no changes, and will restore the vehicle back to its original condition. And when you talk to them, acknowledge that if they are not willing to sign that, we're not willing to entertain their bid.
A lot of what comes up too is repair versus replace, and some people feel that other people come in and they shouldn't be repairing something.
That's two different vendors wanting to snipe at each other.
Right.
That's this coffee cup's better than that coffee cup. Well, the guy who sells that coffee cup says that coffee cup's better than this cup. No, that's why you bring the person whose vehicle it is into the loop.
Larry's got.
And so ultimately, we want.
He doesn't have any vehicles.
In my previous lifetime as an insurance agent.
Oh, okay.
Oh, insurance agent.
When you lend,
Do you have former partners in the room that you're trying to get in good graces with again?
No. When you let each vendor look at the other's bid, that's where you're running into the
Yes.
problem. You can't do that because
Once a bid is final, so we say 9 a.m. Monday morning, okay? By law, it's public. We have no choice.
once you say it's final,
Right.
And it sounds to me like you're not letting them look at them. They're looking at them before.
No.
No.
They're tearing them for
They're
it.
sniping
Afterwards.
After we receive the final bids,
We were-
that's when they start
We
sniping.
ran into the same thing with the janitorial supplies.
Yep.
We tried to open it up and tried to
Yep.
share the love, spread the work, and then they pick on each other, and it got to be a real pain in the butt. But
Like
the insurance,
complaining about the toilet paper and things.
use it. The ladies' room is softer, Larry. We talked about this earlier.
So
Where
not
was
to
I?
be a dead horse, but just-
No, it's let Moperm pick it, and don't we have an adjuster come and look at it?
What-
So we could have the adjuster come and look at it and say, "Here's what needs to be fixed. Y'all bid it, and if you find something afterwards, then it can be on top of it." Just they're paying it, not us.
Well, what MoPerm does is say, give me 2 estimates. If they look at the estimates and they believe they're too high
Then
for
let
that
them pick.
vehicle and that age, then they'll bring out an adjuster. Or if I get the word from the department saying, man, I'm pretty sure it's total, then I'm gonna call them right away and get
Let
an
them
adjuster.
pick. Let
Okay,
Moperm.
they're
They
gonna
picked the last one.
lowest all the time. They're not, unless we say, oh, we don't like it.
The issue is what Mark said, is making sure that it's a final, it's not just a bid. This is what I'm going to charge you to fix this. And if they find something else that they didn't take time to look at, that should be on them.
That's not coming out of our pocket anyway. It's the insurance going to pay it. That's who they're going to argue
No,
with.
it's only pays it if it's over. What's our deductible? 1,000.
Yeah, but it's a $5,000 damage. If it's under 1,000, we're not going to turn it in anyway.
See,
That'd be a whole different issue. But
and-
if it's over that, the insurance is paying it.
They are, but we'll have to supplement if the bid that I gave them is different from.
Let
what
them argue with the
somebody
insurance company then.
Well,
Why are we
what
even
we're
talking
saying
about
is
this?
A lot of vendors come in and undercut on purpose and come back with subsidies all the time. Or whatever.
And then we have to pay part of that.
No, we do not. But the other vendors feel like it's unfair.
Who does it?
Who does it?
Who undercuts?
Yeah.
No, if you're not willing to say it, then you shouldn't be willing to say it. Who undercuts? Is there a vendor that consistently undercuts bids and then comes back with change
Is
orders?
there a vendor that consistently charges more than what the original bid is?
Yes.
In my history here in the last 2 or 3 years? Yes.
Who?
Fisher's Body Shop.
Okay.
Whether that's right or wrong, how many they've gotten compared to the other ones, I don't know.
Were they the low bidder on this?
No.
Then it's not an issue today. I don't mean in a bad sense, but I mean,
But the other two vendors are the ones with having issues.
That disagree with each other. That disagree with each other.
They
Yeah.
have called you, I'm sure.
They have not called me.
Well, the phone
Yeah.
rang like crazy.
I've got.
I got one. I have one voice message. I take that back.
I
just
didn't have any calls.
why I'm not getting my email voice messages.
Yeah,
They're
I've
lucky.
received some
Are
phone
you
calls,
getting
and
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
don't
what
get
the
that
solution
many.
is. I talked to Jennifer
I
about it
get
as
5.
well, and anyway, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot we can do. If the insurance company is allowing, if they pick a vendor and then that vendor goes back to them and they're going to pick up the rest of the tab, well, although it may be unfair, that's, we're turning it over to the insurance company. So, yes, Larry.
You might talk to MoPerm about allowing you to have an independent adjuster write the estimate, the appraisal.
That's why I think what I'll do is have them.
Then
They bid it.
body shops have to go with whatever that adjuster writes the appraisal.
I did talk to MoPerm yesterday, and I asked them the exact same question. I said, why don't you guys just come out and tell us what it's worth, or tell us which body shop to go to? And they said, absolutely not, they don't get involved in.
No, not tell us which body shop. They come and they look at it and say, this needs fixed, here's a list, you all bid this list. And then that way everybody's bidding apples to apples. They're not saying replace a part or repair a part. MoPerm's saying, their adjuster's saying, this has to be replaced.
We're adding another step to this process. These vehicles want to get back on the road as fast as they can. That vehicle wants to get back on the road as fast as they can. I can do that. I can add another step, but I'm at their mercy waiting for their adjuster to get here.
It's either that or you're going to have to deal with all the sniping. You get to pick. Actually, you shouldn't even be in this loop at all. This should be between purchasing agent and the department. I don't think that's, I don't know. I'm just one.
I agree.
I think
Why
this-
are you involved?
Jennifer,
At the
sorry
risk
to
of
throw this
sounding
in your
bad,
lap,
but
I
why-
think that's your job. And Debbie,
She works for me.
Right,
She
which
came to
means-
me
which-
and asked me what I thought.
But how many of the is this every time she comes to you on a bid? Where it's under the threshold, we don't have to worry about it?
No, this is every time that a vehicle's wrecked.
Yeah.
We get
Same issue.
angry people every time. And so I'm trying different things to kind of try to make it as fair as I can. You can't please everybody. I
No.
realize that.
Look, some of the people, the only way it's going to be fair is if they get every one. I know at least one of these one of the business people, and their view of fairness is it's fair if I get all the business.
agree.
If you send me 12 cars and you send somebody else one, that's not fair. I
guess-
I know some people are like that. In fact, I know one of these people's like that.
I know when talking to Jennifer, you said that when they all came out and there was like a mandatory.
Yeah, I started doing like a mandatory.
Pretty big conference.
Okay, everybody who's out there at this time, from by y'all, hold hands, what needs to be done. And then first of all, they still managed to come in, not like they're still different. And then there was, at least one person that was, really upset about that. So then
Well, and-
people like it. I just.
I talked to one of the body shop owners too, and he had seemed to indicate that they would all agree on what needs to be fixed and all bid that exactly. And if that's the case, and somebody deviates from the bid, I would throw their bid out. Yeah.
Before the last time that we did our last bid on vehicle repairs, just the normal ongoing stuff, some of them got together and tried to get a core group that would not bid because they didn't like the idea that we don't let them charge for changing the air in the tires. We don't let them charge for plugging a computer into the car. And the person who won it has won it consistently, doesn't charge for any of those things. And I'm hesitant on what you just said. I'm hesitant in the sense that if they get together and in essence start price fixing, it's not going to help us.
Well, it's not price fixing. It's basically saying we're going to repair these items and only these items, and if something else, they find something else, which they shouldn't, an all-inclusive bid, like Marcus said, if you're going to bid something else other than what we're telling you to bid, well, that's an incorrect bid. Throw it in the trash, move forward. But I also see what you're saying. But in your scenario, though, if you bid X number of items and changing the air in the tires or whatever, and they put 0, I mean, you can't blame a guy for not charging for that. That's 0 cost. That's part of the bid, right?
We tell them we can't charge for it. If they put it, I mean, what we were finding out is people were charging us for things like that.
Yeah.
And you just said don't put it in bid.
Yeah.
I see
So
a problem with
in
that.
your bid document, you said you can't charge for changing the air and tires.
Which is what we do now.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But it's been a learning curve for us, and I just don't want to get in the same position on the body repair.
right.
I understand that. Does that give you any guidance at all?
Well, I'm just gonna keep doing my little meeting, I'm gonna start doing that. Who ultimately makes the call then of where it goes? Who do we?
I'm gonna defer to you, your recommendation. You
Since-
pick the lowest and best. It doesn't have to be the lowest.
I think you should. I think the solution is you should call MoPerm each time if it's insurance covered, and have them give you a recommendation. And then if you get a call and a yell and a scream, you can say you have two choices. You can call MoPerm, or if you're really offended, the commission has indicated they would be happy to have you come up in front of the commission and speak about it in open session.
Okay.
Does MoPerm always pick the lowest bid regardless what's in it, or?
If we suggest that we wanted something different, and there wasn't that much price difference between them, still let us pick which one.
We don't want to pick.
I know.
I think the problem with this one, Mark, is that certain body shops were going to replace an intercooler that was
Right.
obviously
The other one
damaged,
was going to repair it.
or not. They didn't even have it in the bid.
Okay.
So that was a $300 or $400 part.
And that was concealed, you know, and
But I agree with Chris. If you have a list of what needs to be fixed and everybody bids it the same way,
I agree.
and if they say, "Look, I think this needs to be fixed," and they can put that as a addendum or something on there, just saying, you know, this probably needs to be fixed. I'm gonna put that on there for forewarning.
well, there are people that didn't like the meeting, so as long as you guys know.
They don't like the meeting.
Yeah, I don't know, but as long as you guys know that that's what we're doing and that's how it is, so if anyone calls you angry, you know about it and.
We're trying to do it as fair as possible, the way I see it.
Okay.
And that's all I'm worried about, is keeping it fair for everybody. If they don't like the meeting, they don't show up, then they don't get the
Yeah,
bid.
don't bid it.
I agree.
So, I think y'all are doing a fine job with it. It's a pain in the butt like that, the janitorial supplies. We tried to, you know, be fair with that too, and
That's
it got
coming
to,
up again this spring too, by the way.
I know.
You had to say something, didn't you?
It happens.
Did we give you all sufficient guidance or not?
Yeah,
You're okay?
Yep.
And I mean, in all honesty, tell them if they have a problem, they need to come up here. And I don't have and I don't have any problem with Kurt or anybody else coming up here and sitting right there and talking to us about it.
Yeah, I'll talk to all of them. I mean, I talked to several of them, and I've talked to Kurt too. And I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, I bid work all the time, and you know, do I get it all? No. Am I going to cry and complain about it? No. So, you know, that's part of doing business. You get some, and you lose some. So, anyway,
Okay. We're going to pass because the health insurance discussion may take a little bit of time. In the interest of trying to get other people out of here, we may kind of just skip around that a little bit. Change order number 2 on office restoration.
Okay, this is on the judge's chambers. Mr. Kaufman called me. He has about 4
Bless
days
you.
left over there to finish up. Judge Joyce and Melissa Hart, they keep putting him off because they need the courtroom for other stuff, and it's kind of noisy and stuff. And we had a deadline of November 1st in our contract.
He just wants to move the deadline.
Yes,
No money.
no money.
I don't have a problem with that.
And the judge was okay with moving it. I did move it to the end of November because she wasn't sure they were out next week. And the next week that he can't get in there because the judge said. So I was
I'd
given.
entertain a motion to approve the change.
So moved.
second,
Call roll, please.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, by roll call vote, contract's amended. Signing of surplus title. Hey, Betty.
I'm going to let Jennifer explain this. This was the sale of the ambulance.
I put it on Go
Wait till you see the
Deals.
price we got.
We ended up making like 11,200 something, right? I know.
So we got to get the money.
Yeah, we have to get the money, but Mike contacted Mike, it's Osage Ambulance, and they're supposed to pay us, what, Tuesday? And that we indicated, so.
Sell
From
it.
Lynn?
It's the ambulance service, not the manufacturer.
So moved.
I'd entertain a motion to approve title.
Second.
And we do have, Mike has another truck, and we wanted to go ahead and put it back on if that's.
On Gov Deals.
Yeah.
Try that again.
All those. Oh, I guess we have to roll call
Oh.
this. It's a title. Go ahead, Ben.
Sorry.
Yes.
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 Well, that was an easy one. I like that. Here you go.
I want to figure out the process of releasing this, basically before we get our money, or how does the process work?
No.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
They're supposed to pay us within 5 days of the end of auction, which was yesterday, and they've indicated they're gonna pay on Tuesday. And then I have to do something on their
Surprised
site,
if they
and
don't
then
just
we should be
take
good
them
to
back
go.
in and
Wait until we get.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That was a buyer's
I think
premium.
that's the best.
I guess that's,
Especially
yeah.
since the first time around, we didn't get paid.
So do they just direct deposit, or are they gonna bring us a check and you?
They pay,
I'm just
they pay
surprised that they
online
don't
for
take them
Gov
back
Deals,
in and
Gov
kind of
Deals pays
refurbish
us.
Okay.
them.
So ultimately.
So once Gov Deals gets
6
the
weeks,
money,
yeah.
and then they say, okay, we got the title, you can release the money.
Drop a new engine in it.
It all
Yeah.
goes. Okay, that's
Something.
cool. Well, good job. So you can
Excellent
get that much out
job.
of the next
Congratulations. Now you've set the bar. We expect nothing but more from the future.
Reserve still 4,500, going out for every truck, 4,500 reserve, or,
one. I don't know. I'm getting kind of greedy now.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. We
No,
were setting the reserve too low. What do you think?
the last time we had $6,000 reserve and it didn't even meet that. I think it just depends on.
Who needs it
how
and when
they're
they.
in, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the demand on it.
I'd say stick with what you got.
Yeah, because we don't want to sit on them too long. Unless you keep hitting deer, we may need it.
Yeah.
Once you try to hit deer with the ones we're trying to get rid of. Swerve to
And
hit
total them.
Yeah.
Don't just do 5,000.
Hit the deer in the ditch.
And
Discussion of manual accounts payable. I'm cutting off discussion on the last item right now. All right.
Hey, baseball.
Manual
season's over, let's talk
accounts
about
payable.
deer.
Well, actually, I have 2 invoices I'd like to pay. The one is actually paying Jeff and keeping it out of accounts payable because last time.
Right. He wasn't. You weren't here, and we.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll just put it in the next accounts receivable.
I can.
Yeah, we don't have to do a special one. We'll just do it when we do the other.
The other one is Kaufman Construction, because they started early, because the judge has been putting him off, and because he has to pay his contractors. And they are over 90% done over there. I'm just asking because he's asked me.
How much is he wanting?
The total project was $40,264. He's wanting $36,238.09, which is about 90%.
I'm okay with that. The project's pretty close to done. That's kind of like holding the retainage, for lack of a better term.
And we'll still have $4,300.
And we'll pay that upon completion.
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
You okay with that?
I'm a little uneasy with. Usually, you'll hold 10% until final completion.
That is
That's-
10%.
Yeah, but he's not done.
You know what I'm saying? He's
We're
not
gonna
done, but
hold-
we're holding 10%.
Yeah, we're still going to hold 10%.
Right, but I'm saying I'd be okay with paying the 90% less the 10%. So, like on road and bridge stuff, I believe, do we hold 5% or 10%? 5%. Okay, so I'm good with holding 10%, I guess. So,
Okay, you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. What do you need from us? Motion?
Just a motion to approve manual accounts payable.
I entertain a motion to approve a manual account payable to Kaufman Construction.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let's get to the fun stuff now.
Is this going to be a walk? I'm going to use the bathroom. Get some-
Yeah, why don't we take a 5-minute break? Because I have a feeling this could be a long discussion.
back, aren't you?
I didn't say
This is not a trick,
trick or treat.
Trick or treat.
is it? Trick or treat? Is this a trick or treat?
Yeah.
Throw you another green folder, you gotta stack it on.
Yeah. Well, I hold them because I want to look and see what you've been promising me in the past and see how you've changed it.
Sounds like my wife.
Hey, I didn't say anything about promising me a new car. Getting the '68 Dodge instead.
Only if it's a classic.
Only if it's a classic. You know, it's funny because we were talking about this in the car the other day. We saw an old car go by. This 66 Mustang, 67 Mustang, something. It was a cool,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
It had the historic plate on it.
Uh huh.
And
I was like, wow, when I was a kid, that was a junker, man. Remember seeing those at the parking lot at school at high
Yeah,
school? You're like,
yeah.
wow, I can't believe you're actually driving that piece of crap. You know, it was 20 years, it was 15 years old. You're like, now it's a historic car. You look at it and go, wow, that thing's so cool.
We had the older ones, but they had some character to their body, and
Yeah.
they're all kind of running together.
Somebody was driving an old Studebaker in town the other day.
Catches your eye, didn't it?
Oh my god! And it was immaculate. It was black and it had the silver chrome. And the chrome was just
I've never
beautiful,
been part
beautiful.
about, I guess. I appreciate it, but I've just never got into that.
See, I like-
piece of
Congratulations.
Hey, thank you.
I like the old cars,
Yeah.
but I don't like the more modern cars with the hoods up where everybody's looking at the chrome. I want to, I think it's really neat to see an old '30s car completely restored. I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was quite an honor. Well deserved for the employees. They did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah. You guys have been finalists several years in a row, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They keep asking, like, they keep saying you're nominated. It's wonderful, and,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it's still humbling.
Yeah.
Hi.
Betsy. Are you? Good.
What I just found out is on that one, it's just sticky because it's straight dip and something. It's just, I don't have a problem if it's something that I am like truly passionate. I'm like, no, this is the way it is. But something like that is like, oh.
Slide a bit under the door. I was good to slide in those.
I just want to, as long as they know how to do it and they're doing it, and then they can. All right, so you guys.
What's the cost to it? I just told them you're not gonna let me. I don't think it's like for them. What's the advantage of them being required? They're gonna use vehicle damage. Yeah, I would say that we get, I'd like for Ken to look at work. Yeah, and, well, next year. I'm telling you, Ron.
Usually if it's a work day, you can throw a little grease or mud or something on there, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, Larry said you'd like to work it with
It was like a little model, isn't it?
And actually, I got there's a little piece of leather seal, leather stripping at the bottom of the little doors that's come off, and you can actually see a little air.
Okay.
So it could even have just come
Come
through.
through the between the. We might just need to adjust that and tighten it up. Oh my goodness, more stacks of papers. Let's say insurance.
I might use the head before we start here.
Now, if I take that 6 inches and split it?
Sure.
Okay. You just said you don't want to reach soon.
Yeah, I just don't figure it like that.
I picture like a old fashioned Folgers coffee can, round tub, but nothing like that big around there. You'd have a split blade with, I got some, I got 3 trees in the sun, I got that down. They're pretty good. Yellow poplar and then sweet down the gum all. They're getting landed. I just got kind of nice, you know, let them out.
Yes, you been out in the woods much?
I got a decent 8-pointer with the bow, and been out a lot. Been seeing a lot of them. They're moving around in youth this weekend, so take the boys out. And I'll take one of them out. The other one's too old now.
We've had, I know, our youngest is too old. Flies by.
Yeah.
We've seen some nice ones on camera.
I've actually had just busted ass and got in the woods. I was gonna get out there. I didn't even have time to get the cameras up and stuff, but I don't care. Let's get out in the woods and go. So we got a couple new places now, so it helps out.
Yeah. When you're stressful as everything is with our work, it's nice to get out in the woods.
A little therapy. A plus.
All right. Y'all ready? All right. Item on the agenda, discussion of health insurance renewal. Randy.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Free.
Do I need that money?
Yes, you do. Yes. So it's free. We're seeing a 20% discount, and all the benefits are improving, right?
It is Halloween.
Hey, look who's in the White House. If you believe he's upbeat what he's saying, you believe anything.
This is not April Fool's Day, guys. Come on.
No, that was November. Remember? That was November when we got this guy.
Did they rename it to Obama Day?
Just wait.
Just wait. There's lots of things changing. First of all, thank the commission for the opportunity to come in and visit this morning, and special thanks to Debbie and Girls team here. There's a lot of work behind the scenes, so we get to come and present and get a little bit of limelight in doing that. But I can tell you on behalf of Joe, she does we feel a wonderful job, and Debbie does a lot of due diligence behind the scenes. So appreciation there. Yesterday, towards the end of the day, we sent out an email just referencing good news really from the last meeting. And I can back up into partial self-funding and the details if needed. But on the left-hand side of the green packet, basically from our last meeting, we looked at where your fully insured rates were going. I'm going to just kind of throw out some rough numbers here. We're basically looking at a 30% increase. So the budget, and when I'm talking premiums here, I'm talking total premiums, which your employees pay 80% for their dependents. So, but the rates were going up to about $2.4 million for who's covered today, what coverages they're taking. So with that much of an increase, we did look at partial self-funding last year. It just wasn't close enough to justify it. But this year, we had bids from actually CoreSource on the right-hand side of this first page that has the 50,000 highlighted, and they were right around 2.4 million. So from our last discussion, it was all things being equal, if we're right around the 2.4 million fully insured, where you're giving all the money to the insurance company and they're keeping it, good or bad. If you have a good year, they don't give you a check and thank you, and usually you're fighting an increase every year. Or we go partial self-funding, really with that same 2.4 million liability, with the reality that about 20% of that is fixed costs that we know we're going to pay. The other 80% stays in your bank account until the claim is incurred, processed through the network with a discount, sent through the third-party administrator to verify it's a covered eligible claim, and then finally sent on to payment, where the county would transfer funds to pay those claims up to a specific stop-loss amount for each individual person. So we talked about that. That made sense. The county really moved to the point of let's move forward with partial self-funding with the one goal of trying to get United Healthcare down, because United Healthcare at the time was about 2.8 million. Competition was 2.4. What we've done, we had to go back to the reinsurance carriers and work on finalizing underwriting anyway, because we do have some high claimants, which is very common on an employer this size. We had to get some additional large case management notes, which are very difficult to get from a fully insured carrier. So United has a little bit of the upper hand here because they've got the information. So with that, we've leveraged them and met with them several times, and they've actually came back. If you look at the middle column that says UMR, that is the third-party administrator that is owned by United Healthcare, but the network would continue to be United Healthcare. The carrier is BP, and that is the reinsurance carrier. And then this goes through and talks about the contract provisions. But basically, the first number is the $50,000 specific. So just as a reminder, that the county would be paying up to the first $50,000 of any claim for any covered member, employee, employee's spouse, employee's child, anyone who's covered under the plan. You'd be paying up for the first $50,000, but then the reinsurance would kick in for anything over that. So that's the first section of these numbers where it talks about fixed cost. And just to run through the fixed cost again fairly quickly, your third-party administration fee of $38.52 is going to UMR. That also includes the United Network, so there's not a separate network fee there. Our broker fee, we have recommended going to a fee-based that's very transparent, a flat fee. We would want to feel like there would be a fee increase needed in the future. It would be something we would negotiate with the commission, rather than if your rates went up 10%, we're getting a 10% increase, so to speak.
This is monthly.
These are monthly fixed costs. And then you look at your aggregate premium, which I'll talk more about in a second, but there's a premium you're paying for aggregate coverage of $523. And then the covered benefits for this specific policy that you're purchasing, this $50,000, covers both medical and RX, which is pharmacy. And the rates below there, the $87.80, and then the appropriate family rates, those are the actual premium rates you're paying for that $50,000 policy. So what you're purchasing, you're asking this reinsurance carrier to cover every claim over $50,000, and it's actually an unlimited maximum now to healthcare reform. It used to be you could buy like $1 million policy, but now it's unlimited. And for that $50,000, you're paying a premium for that. Very similar.
And that covers everything over 50,000.
Everything, yes.
So that 530. So I make sure I understand that 538. If we were just to say we're going to cover everything up to 50,000, you cover everything over. The total cost to us would be $538,000.
For the fixed premium for that insurance policy, but then you all are paying.
But we're paying everything under, so it's an estimate. I mean, if we have a good year, we could save a ton of money. We have a bad year, it could cost us money. But the 538 is basically we pay everything under 50, and everything else is paid after 50 per claim.
Correct.
100%, no comebacks, no, they were out of network, no, 100%, just done.
Right. As long as it is a covered claim, which you all wouldn't be responsible for something that wasn't eligible, so your TPA is going to handle it. But as long as it's a covered.
Debbie goes in, they find out that she has a hip issue. I'm just making it up here, but it's an easy example, okay? She goes to the doctor. Doctor says, well, here's two options. You can do this, this, and this. Maybe it works, or we can replace the hip. She says, I don't want to mess with it. Fix the hip.
Right.
That's a completely covered claim,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They don't get to, the administrator doesn't get to say, well, no, we want you to wait for like 3 or 4 years and kind of see how it works. And
They're going to.
it allows the patient to control, it allows our employee to control their health decisions.
It does, not to get technical, but it does up to the point that with any plan, they have to go through pre-authorization. So, that physician is going to have to, even if you stay fully insured, Debbie's physician is going to have to send a pre-authorization for that inpatient or outpatient surgery to United, and for United to say, yeah, it's reasonable and we will cover this claim.
What about testing?
All,
Same thing, like to get an MRI,
everything's covered.
you have to wait until the company turns around and gives you a pre-authorization?
Anything that's required to pre-authorize, which actually on partial self-funding, as we do that, we'll go through your plan document, build a plan document, and make recommendations. It's going to look and feel to the employees just like fully insured health plan.
Okay.
They're going to go through normal processes. The good thing is if we go with the recommendation of United, the employees are keeping the same network.
Okay.
So behind the employees are going to have a card. It's going to say United Healthcare. And for them, it's going to look and feel like a fully insured plan. They go in and use their card and pay their appropriate co-payments. They'll pay their appropriate deductibles. And then to your point, these are your fixed costs. So if we had no claims, 0 claims, you all would pay $538,000 and not a penny more.
Okay.
We know you're going to have claims. So we were concerned about coverage in 2 areas. One is on individual high claimants. If Randy has a $500,000 claim, the county does not want to be on the hook for that. So you buy reinsurance, and we're suggesting to buy it at a deductible of $50,000. So, and that's what these premiums represent, the $87.80 and so forth. So all of those fixed numbers, you take times your census, which is up in the top left, You have 218 employee onlys, and then the appropriate, 7 employee spouses, 47 employees with children, and 13 employee families. But you have a total of 285 employees. So that 285 is taken times all those numbers times 12, which gets you to your annual fixed cost. Now, you can stop at that point and not buy what we call aggregate umbrella insurance. And some businesses do that, and over time the county may choose to do that. But right now, we don't have real detailed claims experience. So if anything, our suggestion is to be a little bit conservative, and that is to purchase aggregate coverage, which is umbrella coverage. So with aggregate coverage, you're purchasing coverage on the entire group of employees. It also covers medical and pharmacy. It's a $1 million policy, which I'll come back to that in a second. But how the carriers figure the ceiling is they look at your claims history, what's going on with high claimants and so forth, and come up with aggregate factors. And these factors are the 45509 that you see for employee only, and then the appropriate rate for family coverage. So that is your aggregate coverage. And what you're doing, they're basically giving you a limit of 1,907,000. If you all have claims combined for all the covered members of the county that go beyond that during this policy period of 12/15, which is the full calendar year of 2014, and any claims incurred during that year reported in January, February, March, fall under this policy. So if you all would have, let's call it 1.9 million. Let's say you had 2.1 million in claims. That other 200,000 over that, this $1 million policy would step in and cover that.
Okay, and that's, make sure I understand, that's claims between 0 and 50,000.
That's
Because
correct.
anything that's over 50,000, we don't pay a dime on.
That's correct, because that's what this top reinsurance pays
Okay.
for. And that's why some companies don't, when you look at what you're paying, it's $5.23 back up on the fixed cost. You're paying $5.23 times 285 times 12. Can't do the math in my head, but
It's less than
probably-
$20,000.
I was gonna say,
It's less than
probably
$20,000.
about $15,000. So you're paying $15,000 in premium to have this ceiling. The chances of you all hitting that ceiling, especially this first year, is very, very low, because you're coming off of a fully insured policy, so you're not gonna have any claims show up for the first 2 months.
Right.
They're happening, but they're not gonna show up for the first 2
Right.
months. You're gonna have cash build up the first 2 months, except for pharmacy, which happens right away when people go in. So conservatively, we're saying buy aggregate protection. We could go down the road 10 years, and you all could spend that $15,000 for 10 years and never come close to this number.
Right.
As that happens, some businesses say, you know what, keep the 15 grand, but it's a small price to pay, I think, for these.
How much does that aggregate go if you lower the specific deductible?
If you lower.
You go to 25, or you go to 10, how much does that aggregate premium go up?
The premium won't change much, but they'll change these aggregate factors. So, matter of fact.
What do you mean aggregate factors?
The aggregate factors are your 450.
No, you're below the line. I'm talking above the line.
Oh, above the line, if you.
In your fixed cost.
In your fixed cost, if you.
Say you wanted to do instead of 50, because you did a 75 and a 50.
Right.
What if you want to do a 25?
Then they're gonna just go up higher.
How much higher?
We'd have to run it for you, but we would definitely recommend a 50.
Where's the cost point?
I would not go below 50. We can run more numbers for you all, but a group your size, at 50 is conservative. When you look at 75 and we ran it for you and put some notes on the.
Yeah, you don't save. You get no benefit.
You don't save much. You're basically saving. You're saving $96,000. You go to the 75,000, but you're taking on 25,000 of risk. From the 50 to 75.
But your aggregate premium's the same.
The aggregate premium actually goes.
It's
up.
the same.
Actually, well, the premium for the reinsurance is the same. The 523
Right.
is the same, but the bigger numbers below actually change. It's a whole other discussion. But we would recommend the county purchasing the 50 because when we've looked at higher numbers, we put in 75 for your all's review, but we don't think you're not getting enough bang for the dollar there to make that transition. But you all are large enough, give or take 300 employees, to be at a 50,000, and over time you will probably, as you get more comfortable with partial self-funding, you'll probably raise that deductible. That deductible, talking about cars and car insurance a while ago, is similar to buying a deductible on a car. You're basically saying, insure this car, how much do you charge me, insurance company? Well, what if I go from a $500 deductible to $750? They lower the premium. We're of course insuring people here, but in that context, the higher you raise that deductible from 50 to 50,000, 75,000, they lower the premium. But again, you get to a tipping point. Is it worth it? Over time, is that difference between 50 and 75, or maybe 50 and 60? We're going to come in each year at renewals and give you other deductible options. At some point, you will probably move up in deductible to lower your fixed cost.
But you're saying that if we go lower, it will not service any
No.
benefit at all?
No, I mean, you're just going to pay more in premium. I mean, so we can get you more.
I understand, but I mean, you know, we have very few claims that are over $50,000. It's a really small amount.
Right.
But over 25,000, maybe we have more.
You do.
And therefore, there's more savings to us on what we don't cash out. That's that balancing test I think you have to look at is where's the point where the theoretical savings, i.e. what's over the cap,
Right.
is that the premium outweighs it,
Right.
and
And
vice
that-
versa.
well,
And
we're-
it seems to me like going up doesn't help us any. But what about going down? You know, if we shave $400,000 in expenses off by going to $10,000 and it only costs us $200,000 to insure it, that's a big win for us.
We can run you the numbers. I mean, it's going to go up significantly if you drop that specific premium down because you're getting into the carrier being exposed to more and more.
Well, yeah, I mean, I realize that. You're trying to swap your risk for the carrier's risk, and I know there's a point, but I'm trying to figure out where that line is because, you know, you did a nice job, I think, on this page of explaining
Right.
how much the difference was to go to 75 and really what the benefit was, which is a detriment, actually. It's not even a benefit.
Right. So,
But it'd be good to see that analysis the other way.
Yeah, we can run you some additional numbers. So for today, I mean, our in looking at numbers, our recommendation would be the 50. We'll get you some additional numbers. So the financial stuff we've looked at today was kind of based off that thought that we can run you additional numbers. So as we talked about, that's your specific large claimants, individual large claimants. You would pay up to the first 50,000. Below that, you get into your global umbrella coverage, which again is that 1.9 million. So when you add the 1.9 million, we would call those soft dollars because unlike fully insured, where you're going to give it to the company no matter what, here we know you're going to spend 538,000. That 1.9 million, you're going to spend some of it. We just don't have a crystal ball to know how much, but we do know that that gives you a top end.
That's a
So
cap.
makes sense?
That's the cap.
That's the cap. So if you add the attachment point of 1.9 million soft dollars to the hard dollar fixed cost of 538, that gets you to the bottom line number of 2,445,000. I'll just round that off to 2.4 million, which again gets back to your fully insured rate is 2.4 million. So to us, it makes obvious sense to go partial self-funding, and conservatively, we would say to fund to that maximum, which that would mean using these rates. So the employee rate of 592.59, round that off to 593 for conversation, we would be suggesting to the commission to fund this plan to the maximum. And I'm going to give you some different funding suggestions on where that money might come from, but if you wouldn't have to fund to that maximum. We know you got to pay the 538, or if you don't write these vendors the checks, they'll cancel coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And you all can choose to fund less than that, but going into it for our first year, not knowing all the claims and so forth, I mean, conservatively, we would tell you to fund to the maximum if it's budgetable and you can do it. And we do feel like you're going to have surplus in your account. That's going to help us next year at renewal. The beauty of self-funding is you're going to have ebb and flow. You're going to have some years where you have more claims, some less, but you share in that cash flow, and ultimately you all can build up potentially some reserves there. And it's just going to depend on the utilization of the group, which, you know, again, we don't have that crystal ball, but by this protection, you're protecting yourself both individually. For a large claim, you won't be over 50, and totally for the group as an aggregate, you won't be over the 1.9 combined to 2.4. So we kind of went through that last time, but I know these are a lot of numbers. Partial self-funding's a little bit new concept to everybody. Does anybody have any questions on the concept or how the funding looks?
Benefits all stay the same? From
We're
an
gonna
employee perspective, they don't see a difference.
We're going to suggest making changes. You wouldn't have to, and I've laid that out on the next sheet.
But I mean, the packages are available to be the same. I mean, that's a decision we make, but
That's, you could keep, now that you're partial self-funded, Mark,
in this cost, is assuming we don't change anything, right?
The cost of your reinsurance, whether you change a deductible, it's a little bit different than fully insured. Whether you change a deductible from $1,000 to $1,500 on a fully insured basis, because the carrier's taking all the risk and they give you a rate, and you say, okay, our rate's $608 for a $1,000 deductible. What if we go to $1,500? And they say, okay, it's 1% savings. They show you that number. On partial self-funding, that reinsurance carrier is giving you this rate for $50,000. It's not going to change whether you're $1,000 or $1,500. Now, if you went from $1,000 to $5,000, but they're not paying a claim until it gets to $50,000.
Right.
The county's paying it. So really, it's going to get down.
But the deductible counts towards the claim or not?
The deductible won't count towards the claim because the employee's paying it.
Okay.
So if it's a $10,000 claim, the employee pays $1,000, then $9,000 that would count towards that $50,000.
Okay.
So now that we're looking at partial self-funding, it is a little bit of a changing the hat, because it's not a matter now of, hey, we're paying a fortune to United Healthcare, let's get the best benefits, and you want great benefits for the employees, and you want the best benefits you can get, but now it's not United Healthcare that's footing the bill. It's the county that is paying it for the first $50,000, and then the reinsurer paying it past that. So at the end of the day, you still want very good benefits, but there has to be some reasonable cost share between the county paying claims, the employee paying claims, because you take the place of that insurance company now up to your stop loss amounts, if that makes sense. Any other questions just about the funding part?
I'm just trying to look at the employee only max funding rate, and we currently are 467, and you've got here 592, which is about $125 a month increase. And so how would that play out, Randy?
So that is, and actually, if you pull out the sheet right behind that on the left-hand side, the stapled copy, that's a great segue, Chris, into some funding suggestions. But
Okay.
the page right behind it, which is what we had shown before, it's the medical rate summary.
Okay.
Keep in mind, we're not sheltering, and we're having roughly a 30% increase in healthcare costs this year. And we're suggesting going to partial self-funding because of that, because it makes sense now. But on this sheet, we're showing you your fully insured rates. So to your point, Chris, the fully insured rate currently is the 467.09. The county's currently paying all of that premium for all employees. If they take the PPO traditional plan, it covers them at 100%. If they take the HSA high deductible, you are putting in that difference for them. But you're budgeting basically 467.09 for every single employee. Plus, you're paying 20% of the current family rate, which I want to come back to that in a second. But when you look, if you go over to the, or if you look at the renewal of that, the renewal of the first column is going to 60842. So if we stayed fully insured and did not make any plan changes, that 30% increase is going to 60842. The partial self-funding, we're at the 592.59, so they're relatively very close. And again, advocates why to look at partial self-funding. But I just want to make the point that it's not the partial self-funding that's causing the increase. The increase has been due to utilization within the group, healthcare reform, and all that. So we have a 30% increase to deal with on hand. If you go to the stapled copy that's outside of your green packet, just like this, these are some suggested funding structures. We've been working with the actuary, the reinsurance carrier, and again, these are just suggestions. Obviously, the commission will make the decision on what you want to do with your premiums. But let me walk through this so everybody's on the same page and this makes sense. 2013 current premium funding structure, the employee, based on 285 employees, which are what all these numbers are based on, the county is paying 100% of the traditional PPO premium of 467.09 times 285 times 12 is 1,597,448. The county is also paying 20% of the dependent rate. So we've taken those rates of your current traditional PPO plan, taken 20% of that rate today, and this ends up being the appropriate rate. So if someone's covering a spouse, the county's paying $117 for that person's spouse, the covered employee spouse. You have 7 of those members today that are covering spouses, gets you to the $986. and the appropriate number is right below it for children only, or full family would be a spouse and one or more children. So bottom line is the county is paying $71,616 towards dependent cost. If you take that $71,616 divided by 12 and divided by 285, that's an average of $20.94 per employee per month. If you then take the total of the two numbers above, it's $1,669,064. Divide that by 12 is $139,089 a month. Divided by 285 gets you to an average premium per employee per month, including the 20% dependent spend that the county's making today, of $488.03. So whether you look at it separately, it's $467.09 that you're spending per employee, and then $20.94 for anyone with, across your whole employee population of 285, you're averaging $20.94 per family, any type of family coverage. Or if you add those numbers together, it's the $488.03. Let me stop with that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's under our current system.
Under the current structure.
No, I understand the current system.
Okay, so these are some different ideas and options for 2014. Again, we're dealing with a 30% increase, so it's that those whether you stayed fully insured and gave all of them into United, or we go partial self-funding, we're saying fund it to the maximum to start with and being conservative, but we would have given it all to United anyway. So by using the maximum funding rate of $593, and we're focusing only on the employee rate here, depending on what you all do on dependents, we of course have the other rates accordingly. But so number one, if the county continues paying 100% of the new employee rate of $593, the premium, and 20% of the new dependent premium, so you're basically going to just take the 30% increase. You all would continue to pay your full 100% of it plus the 20% of the rate on the dependents. The employees obviously are seeing a 30% increase too for those that cover dependents, but only on their portion of it. That would be an increase to the county. It would be an average 27% increase on the total employee and dependent cost to the tune of $450,000. The next option would be if the county capped the employee paid dependent premium at the current level, which from above we know is roughly $71,000, and funded the new partial self-funded employee rate of $593 at 100%, therefore still paying 100% of the traditional PPO type plan. You're still looking at a 27% increase on the current employee only funded rate, not paying more on the dependent rate other than what you're already paying. And that would lower your costs down from $450 to $431, and of course that difference between the two would be borne by the employees that have dependent coverage. And your percentage is going to be less than 20 at that point because you've capped it compared to the total. Number three, if the county discontinues funding the current 20% dependent premium and applies those premiums to the employee premiums, then pays 100% of the employee premium of $593, it would represent a 21.5% increase over the current average per employee per month premium of $488, which would be an increase to the county of $360,000. We got a couple other things on the back, but any initial questions? I can wrap up on the back and come back to you. The next option, there's two ways that when you look at where rates are going, it's great if the employer can still pay all the employee costs at 100%. It's becoming more and more difficult to do that, especially when you look at a year where we've had a 30% increase. So the next step is probably obvious to everyone is that the county simply cannot continue to pay 100% of the employee premium. So this is just an example. If the county discontinues funding the current 20% dependents again, and applies that dollars to the premiums to the employee, but then only pays 95% of the employee premium. So you're only going to pay 95% of the $593. It would lower your amount from $593 down to $563. The employee who chose to be covered by the county would pay 5% of that rate, or $30. This would represent a 15% increase overall for the county over the current average rate of $488. However, if the employee employee chose the HSA plan, the county could fund, wouldn't have to, but the county could fund the difference of the 563 that you're paying minus the HSA rate of $58, into their HSA, which is what you're doing currently today. You're funding the difference between the amount you're paying and the lower costing HSA plan. That would lower your increase as far as the county to a 15% over the current average of 488 to the tune of 250,000, 256,000. The last option, of course, and could continue on, is that the county pays less than 95% of the employee rate of 593, and the employees pay an additional amount over that, depending on what percentage you go to, along with you all making a decision on the current dependent 20% premium fund. We still need to talk about plan design too, but this, of course, and it's not something this is not something we have to have a decision on today. I think the decisions we have to have is, are we going partial self-funded with United, UMR, which we felt like was the direction we're heading. We can get back with you on different specific deductible rates to look at 50,000, 40,000, 30, for you all to make a decision on that. So the premiums don't have to be decided today, but I want to make sure everybody understands that conservatively we're saying fund to the max. It's a matter of how you come up with that funding. So.
I at some point you've lost me, Randy, and it's not on that page.
Okay.
It's somewhere. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how we go from $87.80 for an employee to get the anything over $50,000. Okay, I realize that's per month. I understand it, per month. To another on top of that $87, $455 a month for nothing. Except if our total claims go over 1.9 million, we get some coverage.
Right. So
It seems to me that from a financial perspective, the better deal is just to take the over $50,000 coverage, i.e. the big protection for a big hit, and self-fund everything else, which means we don't have to pay for anything else, except the claims as they occur.
Claims.
I mean, I understand that, except for the claims that occur.
Right.
But based on our experience history, it's unlikely we'll go over 1.9. It's unlikely we're going to go very far over that amount.
Right. So you're exactly right.
And there's a good chance we'll be way under it.
Correct.
And as I understand the way you've proposed this, we pay those premiums, period. Yes?
You're not
We're going to
paying-
pay $592. We're going to write a check every month for $592 for every employee to United Healthcare.
No, you're going to write a check for annually $538,000, and then the rest of that dollars you're going to keep in your own bank account. You need to
So we don't ever pay it.
You'll pay it when you have claims.
We don't ever pay it to anybody else.
Correct. Pay it for yourself, and then you pay it for claims.
So what you're proposing is an actual cost of $538,000
Plus your claims up to $50,000.
plus the claims up to $50,000.
Correct.
Now, it talks about an aggregate cap
Right.
of $1 million. How much do we pay for $1 million aggregate cap?
That's your $5.23. So you're paying that $15,000.
I thought that was the over $50,000 cap.
No, the $5.23, the aggregate premium of $5.23. If you want to purchase aggregate coverage, is the premium for your aggregate coverage, which gives you these attachment factors and gives you $1 million of coverage over the $1,900,000. So if you went through that ceiling,
Okay, you're jumping way all over the place. You understand this, and I do not.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to walk back through it?
No, I want you to answer my question specifically as I ask it, and I know that I'm trying to get my arms around this because when you say aggregate premium, so aggregate coverage, we pay $5.23 per month per life or per employee. I'm not sure which the number is, but per employee, so that if we go over $1 million, we don't pay a dime. Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
You go over 1.9.
Now, hang on. You see,
Okay.
you have to let me ask my question. Does the 5.3 have anything to do with the $50,000 cap?
$538,000.
No, the $5.23. That has nothing to do with that. So it's only this extra $1 million if we go over 1.9 million.
Correct.
Okay. But that has nothing to do with what's below 538. If we pay the $538,000, right? And lo and behold, we go over 1.9 million, then the aggregate cap kicks in.
Correct.
Okay. And if it's under 1.9 million, the aggregate cap does not kick in.
Correct.
Okay. So what you're proposing, see, you've laid it out as premiums, and I guess I don't see it as premiums, and maybe that's where I'm having my problem. The only premium we're paying is $538,000.
Correct.
That's the only premium. Everything else is internal, how we budgeted.
Correct.
Okay. Now I understand. Because that's where this whole break. I mean, I guess
Sure.
where I got lost when you went through this is it's all talking about premiums and how much do we charge employees, but we're not charging employees anything except for the 538. I mean, theoretically,
Right.
because that's all we for sure have to pay.
Correct.
If we figure this out and we say, okay, we're going to charge everybody $60 a month to keep their insurance, and I'm not saying we're doing that,
Right.
and we end up being a really great claim year and we're way under, well, they just paid for nothing. Because we wouldn't, I mean, they didn't need to pay for that because we never got close to needing that money. Is that an accurate representation?
That comes into the next year's premium that you would charge. That, you know, because we're self-insured, we've got that umbrella, that money there. If we don't use it all, it would affect us.
So if we set in reserve $1.9 million out of our reserves today as the stake money, for lack of a better term, the odds are we're not going to spend all that
Correct.
because we're only going to have 10 months of coverage. I mean, of claims.
You'll have.
No. This year, remember, you have to look at everything in a budget year because that's all we can appropriate is budget year.
It becomes a liability.
It does, and next year we have to appropriate 1.9 million effectively again, right? Okay. So if we appropriate 1.9 million this year in our reserves, we're done. We write a check for $538,000. We set a reserve account up, health insurance reserve, I don't know what we call it. We're done. Bills come in, we write checks out of that 1.9 million. If that 1.9 million ever gets to zero, we're done. We're not paying more.
If you buy aggregate protection.
Right, which was included in the 538.
Correct.
If it stays under 1.9 million, then we have leftover money in our reserve account.
The beauty of a partial self-funding. Exactly.
So why do we charge premiums?
Well, the premiums, you have to come up with, actuarially, you have to come up with your ceiling, which are these aggregate factors, plus you have to come up with a COBRA equivalent rate. So if someone leaves the county, and they want to continue on your plan, you
For
have to
90
charge-
days or whatever.
Right, you have to charge them a COBRA rate. Those COBRA rates have to be a actuarially sound accounting.
I understand that.
plan.
I understand that.
The other.
But we don't have to charge them that.
You wouldn't have to charge the person.
No, I mean,
COBRA.
while they're employees, we don't have to charge them that to establish a COBRA rate. We could
Correct.
fully pay all the employee premiums, like we've always done,
Right,
and still have a COBRA rate set,
correct.
even though we're not actually writing checks out for a premium.
Correct. But you will also need, you're exactly right, you will also need to come up with your, you'll need the employee rate established somewhere for COBRA.
I understand
But
that.
you're gonna need the other family rate
But-
for the employees who decided to family on.
I understand that, and I think that employees that put their families and spouses on are going to have to pay that gap coverage.
Right,
I don't disagree with that. I'm trying to get my arms around just the employees.
right.
So what I'm hearing is for this fiscal year, for 2014, we are almost, I almost say, it's very unlikely that the cost incurred to the county would require employees to contribute anything for their own insurance. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, if you're comfortable with the liability,
Understanding that in the unlikely circumstance we go up to 1.9 million, and then we will have subsidized some employee.
right.
And if the total amount that we pay out is $800,000 because we have a great year, I mean, it's great.
Sure.
Okay.
And
I understand now.
Between
Thank
the
you.
two plans, I think we have to have a premium. The 593 is what I consider an average between the HSA and the traditional. Because there's more of a benefit maybe on the traditional for some people than there is on the HSA, be it less out of pocket. I think we have to establish a premium for each one of those separate. Mark, do you get that?
I understand that.
The what?
And we're using the.
No, I got confused. The 593, where's that at?
The traditional.
That's the insurance or the PPO. That's the cost of the PPO.
Where?
And the cost of the HSA would be less, but we would.
And
We've always paid the
Right,
difference into a HSA account.
And that's where you again come up with, I'm calling them premiums with funding.
I understand that.
And you do not have to offer two plans. I'm not suggesting not to the HSA.
Yeah, we could get rid of the PPO easy enough.
You could get rid of either one.
No, we could get rid of the PPO.
Well, we will
You don't
have
understand.
I understand what I'm saying.
If we're going to go to one plan, that's the one plan we're going to get rid of would be the
You may
PPO. We would go to an
eliminate
HSA.
some employees. You may eliminate some employees from being able to take it because they won't be eligible for the HSA.
They could take the insurance, they just wouldn't be eligible to put money in the HSA account. They have other insurance,
Understood.
they can't participate in the HSA itself.
Right.
They could be covered
People
by
that have secondary insurance. It's now you get into all sorts of subrogation issues and plan design. Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. But if we got rid of one of the two options, I'm explaining.
From a business standpoint, I totally agree.
And I would like to know what the cost differentiation is if we do that.
We could go back, you may see a little bit of a drop in your attachment factors. Your cost on the 50,000 is not really gonna make much difference because again, they're if it's a claim that goes over 50, they're gonna hit that 50.
But it'd have a big impact on our cost.
Yeah.
Big impact on our cost.
So you talked a little bit about COBRA coverage for the employee, and if that employee leaves, do they get to continue coverage with their spouse or with their children?
Yes, so Chris, they could whatever level of coverage they had, they could continue for COBRA, and there again, we'll have to come up with a COBRA equivalent rate, which in the past, you just always used the fully insured premiums, which is the
Right.
right thing to do, but now that we don't have those, we've got to come up with a rate, which
But-
is kind of where these rates come from.
But since some of that is 20% funded by the county, those COBRA rates should be different, and we shouldn't continue to fund someone who's no longer employed.
Right, they currently pay all their,
They pay 2% more than the current rate on COBRA, and they're on it for 18 months.
2% more,
2%.
so we're funding 18% of that.
No, we're not funding any percent of that. They're actually paying the whole employee rate plus 2% for COBRA. We fund nothing. The 20% is only active employees with dependents.
Okay. So this rate is not the right rate for COBRA for if they have spouse or children.
this is the rates listed below the 592.59, that's the total rate, which would not involve the county paying anything. So if you went with these
Okay.
rates,
Okay.
this would be the full rate.
Okay.
They said you could charge another 2% if you wanted to.
Okay.
So these aren't discounted with the 20% that the county currently spends.
And then on the policy year maximum, under the aggregate, that $1 million, what happens if a claim exceeds $1 million? Does that?
That's a very good question. Where that comes in again, and this part of it can again get confusing. The aggregate that you're purchasing for that $5.23 gets you this umbrella of 1.9 million.
Mhm.
If you go over the 1.9 million, that what you're buying is $1 million policy. So that $1 million would be sitting there for all claims over the 1.9 million. So if we had 2.3 million in total claims, those dollars are going to come from that million. If we went over another million, so we had 2.9 million claims,
Mhm.
the county would be back on the hook for that. The chances of you all going over the 1.9 million is there's less than 2% of businesses in the United States have what we call an aggregate claim, where they go through the ceiling, especially you all coming off your first year, the 10 months of claims. That's not going to happen, but you would have to have so many claims to go through that million. But what you're buying for $5.23, roughly $15,000 a year, is $1 million insurance policy over the
1.9.
It's effectively an umbrella.
It's an umbrella.
I mean, I recognize that's not what it's called, but it's what it
That's
is.
what, yeah, it's an umbrella aggregate for your total group. And again, some employers don't even buy it, but for $15,000, it gives you a budget number to say.
Cost us total of $15,000 for that $1 million.
Yep. The exact numbers would be 523 times 285 times 12. But
Yeah, it's a little more than 15, might be 18,000.
I mean, you're in this business, and so, I look at $1 million not being what $1 million was 20 years ago, and so, I guess I'm just concerned at that because somebody has something major medical, could be in the hospital for a number of months or years or whatever.
Good question. Keep in mind, though, on an individual person, you're only going to pay up to $50,000. So if Randy has a $1 million claim personally, the county's only going to pay $50,000. That rest of that is paid by your specific.
And that doesn't go into the aggregate.
Only $50,000 of that goes towards that 1.9 million. So the 1.9 million,
Okay.
that ceiling is made up of all claims.
All the claims,
under
okay.
50,000 on a running total. So Randy has $1 million claim, it's 50,000. Joe has 10,000 in claim, and they got a 10,000.
So that employee, say they have a $1.5 million claim or whatever, we're only going to pay $50,000, and only that $50,000 will go towards that $1 million in umbrella. Is that correct?
The 50,000 goes towards the 1.9 million
Right.
limit, and if you go through that limit of 1.9 million during your policy period, that $1 million policy
Okay.
is sitting there to pay claims for the next $1 million.
And the 1.9 million is only made up of the 50,000 per employee that we pay. But there is no cap, say, per employee on one or multiple claims on what they would incur in a year.
Correct. It's
Okay.
it's unlimited.
Okay.
Due to healthcare reform.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I'm in favor of partial self-funding, and we'll just have to take a look at how we're going to fund it.
I agree. It's just a budget issue at that point, how we allocate the budget. What do you need from us? Well, I should, Jeff, you okay? You were kind of nodding and kind of moving, so.
The confused look is.
Yeah.
This is, you all.
Are you okay with going to partial self-funding?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we made that
Yeah, I'm
decision.
fine with it.
50, 75.
And we're going to have the same
50.
coverage.
Yeah, I think 50.
50.
And with you.
Yeah, the way it sounds.
Yep.
75
Keep the
will
networks.
save us.
Okay. So the things we need to do is move forward with the contract with UMR as a third-party administrator in front of each commissioner. I'm not going to go through this.
Thank you.
This was the trick, not the tree, but.
It's got some nice pictures.
This, just so you know, UMR, who is owned by United Healthcare, when you want to have some fun reading, this does talk about their third-party administrative services, but a couple of key highlights on the first page. In the second paragraph, I mean, they are the largest TPA, third-party administrator, in the United States. So they're solely owned by United Healthcare. So to get to United Healthcare's network, they kind of get you,
Right.
you have to use their TPA. But it's all very good things for the county because we're already with United. That doesn't mean we're locked into this TPA for years in the future. Once we start getting our claims data, we can manage this better.
And they agree to provide us all our claims data.
You're going to get more
Oops, I'm
data
sorry.
than you've ever seen. So, but they do a great job. We have a lot of accounts with UMR, with United. But that tells you a lot about them. So our next step is to coordinate with Debbie, getting UMR down here, fill out contracts, get set up. Of course, the commission appropriate signatures on those. And then ultimately, your funding is your all's decision. What that TPA is going to bill you for is these fixed costs.
Plan design is what we have to do.
Plan design we need to work on.
So if we do, hypothetically, if we do a PPO and an HSA, we come up with what the deductibles are. We come up with, and on both of them, because there's,
Correct.
I guess there's different terms, different terminologies used between the different concepts of plans. But we set those numbers.
Correct.
We don't go to the company that if we say we want to have hypothetically, no deductible, okay? UMR didn't come back and say, no, you can't do that.
Right. They'll administer it however you want to. Now, if you went from your current deductibles to zero, we'd have to go back to your stop-loss carrier, because now the employee, you're taking that $1,000 deductible off 285 people, so that now becomes the county paying the first 1,000 faster.
So the aggregate.
Right. I mean, if you adjust your plan tremendously, we've got to go back to the reinsurance carrier and say, hey, this employer has now left a deductible and went to zero. Probably going to affect your reinsurance premiums a little bit, which we wouldn't advise you all to make that change, because where deductibles are heading and co-payments is up.
I understand that,
So
but
when
these
you're-
are our discussion. These are our decisions to make, not where the market's going.
Right.
It's where
That's
where
the
Cole
beauty
County
of-
wants to go.
That's the beauty of partial self-funding. Mark, good example. I mean, this is your all's plan, and the TBA will administer it within rules and regulations with healthcare reform and all that. But you have complete flexibility to design your plan, and we'll give you guidance there. But that is the next step as well. And from a timing standpoint, you know, I know sooner the better, but when all that would have to be done before we do employee education. And the other part of employee education, the employer's gonna wanna know, is there any cost to the employees for either plan personally as an employee, and what is the cost for their dependents? So the financial part of it needs to be finalized, and your plan design needs to be finalized prior to doing employee education, when would you prefer to be doing that?
I would like the second week in November to be doing the parks.
That's a week from now.
No.
Can you put? Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a week. We have 1 week to put the entire plan together, get all the contracts, get all the estimates, allow us to design the plan.
It'd be better for a little more time, but are you?
Getting into hunting season.
What, I guess from a.
Not my problem. No, but that's not. I mean, look, I understand it gets into the hunting season. I understand that. This is an employer benefit that we offer. If people think that one morning in a deer stand is more important than their health insurance for a full year, I would call into question whether they should be working for the county anymore, because I would call into question their sanity. And we would not do it on Saturday or Sunday when it's the first day of deer season. You would even agree with that.
Oh, yeah,
From a payroll
yeah.
standpoint, are you deducting premiums out of paychecks in December?
I think it's a discussion for us, though, on what we want and where the numbers are.
I agree.
And not to throw something else on Debbie.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
She just wanted to figure out a time.
Right.
From a payroll standpoint,
Can you-
you won't have to make deductions.
Okay, hang on. Can you get us stuff within 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we shoot for 2 weeks from today? I don't know what day that is.
Are you talking about the education or us making a decision on
Us-
the benefit stuff?
So I want,
Getting all the information we need so we can sit down and structure the plan and make our decisions. We're not going to get that done in 1 week.
we have all the information we need to make the decision on the design of the plan. And now we know the cost, it's just the funding mechanisms that you guys want to use. Do you want to fund it 100%, or do you not want to fund it? We have all that other information, we don't have the contract information. We don't need that contract information to make the decision on the plan itself.
What funding
And
are you talking about? You mean the deductibles and stuff?
basically, if we're going to fund ourselves
Now you're confusing me.
100%, that
She's
extra.
talking about, I think, the employee portion, if there's gonna be any employee portion, and if you're gonna continue to fund the dependent net. I think that's the part that she's wondering about.
So I was wondering if we could meet next week.
So the 30% increase in it, you're asking if we're gonna fund that.
But there is no the 30% increase is fiction.
I see. I
That
know
was what
you're-
that
I
whole
know what you're
discussion- it's
saying. We're-
fiction. It's
we're
not a
self-insuring
30%.
the 1.9. It's just
You want to fund it 100%.
It's fiction.
it's increased 30% if we hit the 1.9 million
It
in
Yes.
claims.
It's only 30% if in 10 months we max out.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Right.
I
It's
think
not
liability is
it's
still-
not like paying for health insurance the old way where you knew it was X dollars you were going to pay every month.
But when the
We don't
auditors-
know what the number
No,
is.
But when the auditors come in and look, they're gonna take that and they're gonna say, that's your liability.
So you're saying keep all the deductibles and everything the same as what we had before.
I'm saying I want to see what the impacts are. I want to know. Again, I mean, I
thought that's what those numbers were based
I
on.
think we've said we would do 50,000. I still would like to see what the number is, because if there's a price point benefit, it's worth taking it to go to maybe a 25.
We'll run you a $25.
But I mean, I want to know if we eliminate deductibles, does that have a significant impact or not? If we raise deductibles, does that have a significant impact or not?
both on what our in-house exposure is and what it potentially would change this 538 premium. Those are things we don't know. If we went from a 6,000, and I don't even remember what our HSA is, 3 and 6 or
2,500.
2,505. If we go from 2,505 to 1,002 on the HSA, does it make a big difference? On the other hand, if we go from 2,505 to 5 and 10 on the HSA, does that make a big difference? Those are all things we need to know to design the plan.
Next week, the 6th, can you do?
Can he get all that information in that period of time? And I think that's what's going to be the.
Yeah, meeting next week.
You control the schedule, Randy.
Yeah, if we can meet next week, either Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm not sure of the commission's schedule, but we can bring you plan design scenarios. We'll have the 25,000, and that's the next step. Really, is we'll bring you suggestions of funding on the plan designs.
And you can do that in 3 days.
Yeah, I've actually done it on the right-hand side. I've given you an example of what we would suggest. And again, this is from, so on the right-hand side of the green packet. You have to keep in mind that, again, it's wearing a different hat because we're not with an insurance company now, and they're paying all the claims, so we're trying to get as much benefit with the lowest deductibles and copays as we can for that premium. The county is the one who's paying the claims after Randy pays his 1,000 or whatever my deductible is. Well, we know we're coming off of a year where the county insured employees and dependents have had a high utilization, which is a big reason why this rate has went up. So there's 2 ways to cost shift in healthcare. You either charge your covered members more in premium, so they're picking up more of the premium cost, or you cost shift by raising deductibles and co-payments and co-insurance, so they're paying more when and if they go into the hospital, doctor, and so forth. So what we've shown in this example is your current 2 plans with the traditional PPO, which is $1,000 deductible individually, $2,000 for the family. It has the office co-payments of $30.60, your pharmacy co-payments, or emergency and urgent care, as you kind of glance down through that. And again, that rate's going from the rates indicated there. The HSA, the second column over, is the $2,500 deductible. Currently, 2 times that for the family at $5,000. It's 100% co-insurance for medical after that, with a $3,500 out of pocket. And it also has pharmacy co-payments after the deductible is met of $10, $30, $50. Those co-payments, after someone would meet their deductible of $2,500, if they would have that much in charges, because on your HSA high deductible, everything goes towards that deductible until it's met, except for preventative care. So if Randy sees a doctor, I go get a prescription, everything goes towards that $2,500 until I need it. Then I start paying my appropriate co-payments on pharmacy. Those pharmacy co-payments build up and go towards the combined out-of-pocket. You go back up just to the lower top there where it says individual out-of-pocket max, about the quarter of the way down there, that $3,500 under the healthcare savings account plan. That $3,500 is made up of your $2,500 of deductible plus an additional potential $1,000 of co-payments that would build up. So that would be your top maximum. You all can keep the exact plans that you have. It's not an issue because it's your plan under partial self-funding, but the richer you keep your benefits, the quicker that the county is paying on a claim. I'm talking about this more from a business sense. I know this can be disruptive to the employees. I'm respectful of that. But any business that's getting a increase in healthcare costs or liability, like the county's getting at a 30% increase on fully insured or a potential liability on partial self-funding, you've got to look at where your plans are and do you adjust them. So you don't have to adjust them. If you want to keep these exact plans, you could. We would come up with the funding for them then, because again, for the COBRA rates and families and all that. But right next to that is a suggestion, if you want to make changes under the UMR program, suggestions of both plans. It would be raising the deductible from $1,000 to $1,500 on the PPO plan, traditional plan, and raising the deductible from $2,500 to $3,000 on the high deductible HSA plan. You could do one or the other. You could not do either one. It's totally flexible. when you go down and look at the office co-payments on the PPO plan, we kept that at the 30/60. We kept the drug card the same at the 15/40/75, except for specialty medications. Specialty medications are the fastest rising cost in healthcare. A specialty medication, that's where all the research and development is happening with Big Pharma right now. They're coming out with self-injectables, biotech drugs to treat chronic conditions, which is very beneficial to the person who's dealing with that. But for that person that has MS, that has rheumatoid arthritis, when they choose to take that injectable, they're going from probably a few $100s for a brand name retail drug to several thousand. So when the county now becomes the insurer, the question is, do you want more cost sharing there with that employee? And we would be having this discussion, if we stayed fully insured, we would definitely be having these discussions, because that 30% increase, the only way to get it down is to raise deductibles and so forth, or charge employees part of the premium. So with partial self-funding, you might be able to avoid the premium to the employees, because again, of that, as Mark was talking about on the dollars and cents, it's a liability, it's not hard dollars you're paying. But the question is, do you want to have employees or covered members of the employee's family pay more when and if they go in for care, so that they are helping pay a bigger percentage of the cost under the plan? So we've given you those changes, which the main changes here are on the deductible. You're raising the deductible, which raises the out-of-pocket just a little bit. On the HSA plan, again, raising the deductible from $2,500 to
And
$3,000.
it makes it more expensive.
The
HSA becomes more expensive if you make the changes.
This is just a suggested funding. So
No, I'm just saying, but it makes it more expensive. How does that work?
We just.
How do you make it a less rich plan and raise the premium?
You can't really compare the fully insured specifically to this. This is, to your point, this funding is, we just took 15%. Currently, the fully insured plan takes about a 20% differential from PPO to HSA, which is pretty aggressive, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. So on your partial self-funding, we took a 15% differential
Okay, I see.
between PPO and HSA. If you all want to do a 20, it'll.
No, I understand.
But it's, you all, again, that's all subject to what the county wants to do, but that's where we came up with that number. Very good question. So this is an example. One thing I want to show or talk about is this unlimited maximum. When you look at the individual out-of-pocket maximum on out-of-network, you'll notice that we have indicated to go to unlimited there. And this, again, is the difference between partial self-funding. Right now, if someone went out of the network with United is paying that bill after that person pays their higher deductibles and higher out-of-pockets. But when you're partial self-funded, the county's on the hook for that. And if someone goes to, as an example, what's happening in the United States right now is the Cancer Institutes of America are advertising almost nightly on national TV. Well, they are not in any networks, and they charge about 300 or 400% higher rates than a traditional network hospital for cancer treatment and so forth. So if you have an employee that goes there and you have an out-of-pocket maximum of, let's say, $5,000 for out of network, they're simply offering to write that off. They're not balance billing that member.
Do you have to allow out of network?
You have to
in your
allow out of
plan?
network, but our point is to go to unlimited.
Do you have to allow out of network? You don't have a choice on that.
You could eliminate it. You'd have to cover it for emergency care.
But only for emergency.
Yeah. So you could eliminate it.
Is there substantial savings in doing that or not?
No, because I mean, the bulk of your employees are going to stay in network to begin with.
Okay.
And by going to unlimited, you're.
Can we get claims information showing what the breakdown on that is in network and out-network for last year or two?
We do, and we'll give that to you. We've
So I'd be curious
looked at it
about-
before, but you're in the high 90s. I mean.
High 90s in network.
In total, yeah. And you'll never be at 100 because like ambulance services are
Right.
not.
No, I understand that.
So, but you all are, you're a United network. That's the nice thing about staying with United.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, sorry, Mike.
Doggone it.
You all are in the high 90s.
Okay.
We've looked at those before, but you're.
So there's probably very little savings if we did that, if
Right.
any.
Right.
Okay.
So this is not set in stone, but again, if from conservatively from a business standpoint, as your advisor, and looking at the marketplace and what deductibles and co-payments are doing, if we stay stagnant on your current deductibles, that's a wonderful thing to the employees. The the county wants to do that, that's great, but you're putting more pressure on your plan because now you're the insurer. So members who go in for claims are being shielded from what has been a 30% increase basically. So, do you change your deductibles? You don't have to do it this year. It could be something we do next year. But over time, healthcare costs are going to continue to go up, and over time, those.
Oh, come on. The president promised they would go down.
And you can keep
He
your own-
promised.
you can keep your own plan.
He has never, ever said anything that was not 100% accurate. And the website works sometime, maybe.
I know that's a lot.
Never.
Is this mic on?
We have your heads So we are, to Debbie's point, I think, it's really, we're not waiting on anyone, we're not waiting on a carrier or even to talk about plan design or rates. It's totally up to the commission, and with our help, as you want our help, to make final decisions on your plan design. You'll, of course, need to decide your funding, so it can be related to the employees, what it costs for their dependents and/or themselves, if you're going to have them pay any part of their cost. And then we will start the process with UMR to get the administration set up and the stop loss in place. We'll get you the $25,000 quote, so you can decide between that and 50. But really, the next step is for the commission and leadership here to make those decisions. So we'll meet as much as needed to do that. We can meet again next week to do that. But that gives you an idea of what you can do with your plan and suggestions on what we would do. So if you were asking our opinion of what you should do with your plan design from a business standpoint, this would be our recommendations for next year. From a consumer standpoint, sure, it'd be great if the county can not make any changes to the plan and leave the benefits like they are today. But that's going to put more pressure on the county to fund those claims faster out of your claims fund.
Randy, this higher deductible on the sheet on the right there that goes to basically $593 as a rate per employee, is that the same as this $593?
Yeah.
So you've increased the deductible on this $50,000.
We very good question, Chris. The $593 is quoted based on your plan design today.
Right.
But that carrier, whether we raise it to $1,500 or not, that carrier that's giving you that quote, that $50,000, they won't adjust their rate hardly at all because they're not on the risk. It's the county that's paying it. I mean, so if Randy only pays $1,000 or Randy pays $1,500, the county's the one paying that balance up to $1,000. So the $593 is the suggested liability rate, funded or non-funded, and that's where we came up with that $593.
But if we were to increase or decrease that deductible, then that's going to affect us a little bit.
It'll affect your all's balance in your account. Because you'll pay less or more. It won't affect these reinsurance rates and aggregate totals.
So on the $50,000, whether the employee pays it or we pay it, it's just going to affect our $1.9 million that we set aside.
Right. Where's that money coming?
Okay.
Higher deductible makes them think about going in, though.
Well, and then I think you just have to have, maybe a wellness program or something to try to keep people as healthy as possible.
You just got to live like me. Get clean.
Wellness programs do become more important.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree. And the other thing we have to look at is plan structure for smokers and things like that. We'd like you. I want you to take a look at that because we're allowed to do things with that. And people that engage in self-destructive behavior. No offense to anyone in the room. Sorry, Jeff.
What? I didn't say anything.
It was the look.
Now that we're stomaching the costs, those are things that I think we have an obligation to look at. It doesn't mean we do or don't do things, but it does mean we need to look at what the impact is and what the cost savings are.
You have a very good point. You have a more direct relationship over keeping your costs down. Money that will stay in your account. And it obviously helps the employees at the end of the day. Because if this cost keeps going, at some point, the county can only pay, as any employer can only pay so much. A lot of employers have went to defined contribution. Here's what we can pay. That's the county has done a very good job of continuing to cover the employee cost, which helps with attraction and retention, which is very important. You'll continue that. That's wonderful. But it will become more and more difficult because of rising healthcare costs. So anything we can do from that perspective to, as much as you can control it's only going to help you sustain paying the bulk of the employee rate as long as possible. Hopefully the employees with it appreciate that.
Okay. Anything else for Randy? You guys got headaches now?
Let's get this scheduled and talk about this.
When do you want to do it?
We can do it Monday
Tuesday would be better than Monday for me, but
or Wednesday morning,
I can't do it Tuesday.
we have salary commission at 11 on Wednesday. If we how much time are you talking about?
or just as much time as you all want,
Okay. How much time are you talking about?
an hour, whatever time you want.
Well, we've already spent an hour and 20 minutes on this.
Hour and a half, you want to block out an hour and a half?
We won't be able to do it that morning then.
Wednesday morning?
Nope.
Or an hour? I mean, an hour, I think. I mean, if we really went through everything, it's really.
Could we do it before our meeting on Wednesday?
Try for 7:30 here. I'll be done by 9 o'clock.
That means we can put nothing else on that agenda. I mean, that agenda has to be absolutely closed because I don't think there's any shot we get this thing done in an hour and a half. I would figure 3 hours. If we had done less, that's great, but I think you're legitimately
Every
looking at 3
meeting, we're one
hours.
step closer to being done, so I think
Yeah.
we need to schedule it, but if we can do that 7:30 Wednesday,
I mean, we can do it another day. I just throwing that out there, but
that'd be the best. If we could.
I can't
I'd
do
like
it
to meet
Thursday. We have a commission meeting on Friday.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
that's there's nothing there.
Well, Friday
It's-
thing's gonna be in and out thing.
I'm, I'm out Friday, so.
You're out Friday.
That's what I mean. That's gonna be an in
Wednesday
and out
morning
thing.
will work.
Number one in and out Friday. No. 16th would be the opening. It's not open. I'm just. It's
You know,
a
we got to
Friday
do what we
thing.
got to do. It's just not much of an option here, guys.
It probably works best for me is Wednesday morning at 7:30.
All right, send it out.
Thanks for a long day.
Dang it.
Why do we got to start at 7:30?
Well, you have a meeting at 9. Assuming
We have salary commission
everything's done
11.
in an hour and a half.
Have to be
Salary
done.
commission can wait. Push them back till noon.
That isn't what's at 9, is it?
No, but salary commission's at 11, and I got to be out by noon.
Oh, you gotta be done by noon. I don't care.
Salary
I don't
commission's
care.
easy.
Let's start
It
at
takes no more
5:30.
than 5 minutes. Maybe 10 if when Al Miller was here, it took 10.
There by then.
It starts getting light about 6. We can start then.
Yeah.
Nah, I can't go before 6:45. I could do it at 6:45 on a Wednesday.
Don't matter to me. I'm up. So we can start at 7.
Let's do 7:30.
to
Just
get
don't
the-
add anything else to that agenda.
I have to get the doors unlocked.
Okay, because this is going to be it's a commission meeting. So, it has to be a regular open commission meeting. It's not like we're doing 2 separate meetings. We're doing one meeting. It's just all the items that are currently on the agenda are going last. And they're going when we get to them. So, if 7:30 to 9 works and we're done, then we'll take up the regular agenda at 9. And if we go till 10, we'll take it up at 10.
Good by me.
7:30. All right.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Randy.
To digest, so
It is a lot to digest.
appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Look forward to next Wednesday, Randy.
I know you all are.
Oh.
All right. So, other items to come before the commission. I got a couple of little ones. I received a letter from the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks.
Good grief.
They want to know if we want to write a letter or set of letters opposing increases in truck weights and sizes. I personally have no desire to sign off on such a letter.
What was that again? Send a letter to increase trucks' weights
Not
and sizes?
to oppose in any increases to truck weights or sizes.
You personally called me as well, and they sent me a
Why?
letter on the same thing, wanting my official engagement, and I told them, no way, what it is. I think it comes down to money for drivers to not have the bigger vehicles.
I just don't have any desire to support the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks.
No.
Or
If it goes through,
Cab-
you'll be able to pull triples in Missouri.
Well, they already have
They-
overweight special permits to haul bigger stuff. So, if they want to get a special permit and have a lead truck, then
they got to,
so be it.
and they got to get legislation passed anyway.
So,
All right.
Yep,
I'm
no.
gonna tell them we're not interested.
I was gonna say, is it the weight, or they're just wanting to be able to pull 3
Well,
trailers?
triple will increase your gross weight.
Yeah, but it's not affecting your weight on your roads though.
It doesn't increase the weight on it per
It's
axle.
just
Per axle,
saying they don't want,
yeah.
they want to make more money because they're pulling.
No. I vote no.
All right, I'll tell them we're not interested. Eastside Business Association is doing a veterans tribute at the intersection of
Oh,
I
yeah.
and McCarty. Did you guys get letters on that? Invitations.
I knew about it. I don't know that I got an invitation on it.
Well, it is
I had
Eastside
2 of them on
Business.
my desk that were
I
both
did
addressed
too.
to me. And
I had
you had
2
2 of them?
2 addressed to me.
Okay, I don't know what happened with that, but
Salvation
Do
Army.
y'all want to buy a brick for that?
How much are they?
What lot did you are?
$100?
No, they're like $500.
$500?
8x8 brick. I know
Okay.
about.
No.
No.
So that's we all getting a little greedy there.
Salvation Army Christmas Kettle Kickoff Breakfast is Friday, November 8th. If anybody wants to go, I don't know if you guys got invitations yet.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm not gonna go.
I cannot. I have conflict. St. Mary's has now put in writing, albeit in a flyer, that they're looking at opening November of 14. We have that letter of credit that we're making them post that goes through 1/1/17. So
They're way ahead.
I think they're way ahead
Mhm.
of schedule. I got a letter from all of the pediatricians at JCMG and at St. Mary's Health
That's
Center.
what Christy emailed us too.
Yep. So I don't know if we need to put this on the agenda to at least have a discussion, because I'm not sure I completely understand the VAX Care program.
I think what they're saying is that the Cole County Public Health going to the schools is cutting into their business.
It's a money
And
issue.
Christy basically said she's going to have the physician of pediatrics or something with the, I forget what it said. Did you get her reply?
Yes. Oh, her reply? No, I didn't get a reply.
She's going to try to have some doctor get a hold of them because she thinks that the doctors, talking to doctors, will better.
Oh yeah, no. My plan is to contact Dr. I can't even say it, George, somebody or other, state epidemiologist and practicing pediatrician. Ask him to reach out to Dr. Foles and others.
And let them, I don't know, see if she handles it and if we need to get involved.
All right.
If we need to, I don't know.
Then I would say let's circle back around with Christy maybe next week and see if we've gotten any
Kind of resolution on it. This letter, I got it. It's dated October 16th, but it came this week as opposed to last week because I was here last week checking my mail this week.
I was going to say, I think I just got it this week too.
Yeah. All right. You guys
I
also
had
got-
one thing, and maybe I just need to talk to Christy about this, but I did, I said something to Jeff. I did notice that we had a billboard over off 54 coming west, I guess, across the bridge, coming from Old Summit into town.
Oh, yeah?
And from the Cole County Health Department and their WIC program. And so I'm all about promoting that, but I'm just wondering.
Why it's in Callaway County?
Yes.
I don't know.
I would talk to Christy about that.
Okay. So,
There may have been
The writing how it is.
a grant or.
okay.
There definitely was a grant for the billboard.
Okay.
Why it ended up in Callaway County.
Just,
It's kind of across the bridge, I don't know.
just kind of curious, you know, we do get a lot of people that come from Callaway County to use our health department since they don't want to go to Fulton. But anyway,
All right, what else?
I have one thing that can.
yep.
You have anything, Jeff?
I don't think so.
All right.
Unless y'all want to talk about parking.
No, this is just as bad. But,
It's
Mark,
just as bad.
I know you contacted Jennifer about bidding out a project down on the first floor of the old courthouse. We need more specifics of what we're doing here in order to bid this out.
All right, put it on the agenda.
Okay, I can't.
Hmm?
I can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically,
what were you thinking?
moving Maryland.
We talked about this a while back.
We talked about this a while back. Moving Maryland down here into this space.
Mm-hmm. I think
Moving-
Donnie had said something about
Moving
that.
Eric Peters into this space.
Okay. Is that Greg Camp's office, sir?
This is camps.
Yeah, okay.
And the clerk's using this area right here. Marilyn's fine with it. Eric's fine with it. We walk through.
Okay.
But the rooms are going to have to be gutted and cleaned. They're
Okay.
not. They're.
Nasty.
I wouldn't go in that room. The
I'm
fact we're
surprised
using
they let
that
the
for an
jurors in
overflow
there.
jury
Yeah.
chamber
Right.
is scary
Okay.
because I can smell
The musty.
the must in the air.
2 years ago, we talked about doing something like this and utilizing that whole floor, and
Yep.
then Maryland kind of fought it, didn't really want to move. I guess
She's good with it now.
Yeah, and so now it's kind of come to fruition, and
So what we need to do initially, we need to do basically is a couple sets of bid packages. The one that's probably most time sensitive is gutting this and remediating whatever's in there. Because I got a
I
feeling
think that's
there's
asbestos.
and mold.
the mold is going to be the biggest thing. And you're either going to have to make sure that it's encapsulated if it's still moist down there, or if we got the leaks fixed.
Yeah. Now that we finally sealed the exterior of the building, it makes sense to start going in and fixing this stuff.
So you want the first one, do you want me to?
Phase
concentrate on that?
one would be demolition and remediation
Okay.
of what we would call civil. Okay. Phase two then would be construction of office space in that room. Although that's when you do
I
the
think we need Jen up here so we
when
can
you do
talk
the
directly with her.
when you do the demolition and remediation, to a certain extent, a component of that is putting the walls back the way they
Right.
were. Maryland doesn't want a huge difference down here. She's pretty much okay with the office space. The only thing she requested is that we frame in a door right there. Right
to
there.
give her an office.
Just so she has an office when she meets with people, she can actually have an office. So really, of all the construction, the only construction is framing in a doorway. That would really be phase
I didn't ask Jennifer to
1A.
stay, but I guess she
It's okay.
got tired of waiting.
It's
Well,
okay.
Yeah, we can get with her some other
But you can convey what we're looking for there. There is a bathroom in here that'll all have to be fixed up too.
That's the one issue, I know this one was on that list when Jill went through that, it's not ADA compliant.
Which one?
Even the one
This
that's
one.
facing out to the public, and it's,
Or we might look at what it would take to make it ADA compliant, just so we have one down there.
Is there ADA access down there?
Yeah,
Elevator.
there is.
that's gonna be
The other, so, and that's one project.
Yeah.
So basically what we're talking about is a total of 3 projects.
Now, what are we
Okay.
going to do with? We're going to take Maryland's and Eric's office and turn them into another jury room.
The Maryland's office will become a jury room because
Okay.
it lays out for that.
Okay.
As far as Eric's office, I think the initial thought is to move the circuit clerk herself into that office.
Okay.
So Donnell would be there, and then you allow where Donnell's at to be more of a full utilization clerk's office. But moving Eric is the least important part. Moving Maryland's the important part. What they really care about is the jury room, and I can't
Okay.
blame them for that. We're starting to
Yeah.
have double jury trials, and it's a mess.
Well, and if we get all the county employees downstairs when the state's off and the county's not, then
Yep.
we can.
Second item, the second project, Project 2, is building a wall through Dale's space. And he, well,
Yeah.
as